Come here, come. Welcome to part 3 of the series that we have been on for the last 2 Fridays on the 12 principles of wealth building. Now, if you're here for the first time, I welcome you with a warm heart, and I encourage you to subscribe, to like, to share your comments based on what you're hearing. And I also encourage you to look at the other videos. Now, every Friday, I am always here. Every Wednesday, I am always here. And on Wednesdays, we have, now I'm even not calling it Bible study, but I'm looking at it as part of biblical success principles, things that we can draw from the Word of God to help us in terms of our success journey. And then, of course, on Fridays, we talk all things money, all things women and money. And generally, I hope that we are growing even as we continue to engage. Now, we have been on a series for the last 2 Fridays, and today is the final Friday on a series that we've been sharing, which is about 12 principles of wealth building. And these are principles that were shared by a gentleman called Steve Burns. Now, Steve Burns is he's been in the market for 30 years. I mean, in the stock market for 30 years. And he has gained a wealth of knowledge, and he's thought, okay, let me share what does it look like. I mean, and you cannot dismiss knowledge from someone who has been in the market for 30 years and build his wealth. So today, we've done about 8 principles, and I will not even mention them because I want you to go back and watch the other 2 videos, plus many others that we have done on this channel, including things to do with the house ownership for home security, including, financial freedom videos. We have even talked about my own, I have places where I have talked about my own story, my own financial mistakes. I am just vulnerable to tell you what happened and why I do what I do. I do what I do because I care so much about people who are in employment, and I always say I am sent to people who are in employment so that I can, sort of be like the John the Baptist, shouting in the desert and shouting and saying, beware. It's like that word of buyer beware. Beware that you could be earning resources, you could be making money, but you're not a good steward of the resources that God has given you. And therefore, mine as a financial coach is to help you, become more accountable, become more, have more responsibility in your financial life, and to help you take charge of your financial future. So welcome to today's video. And as we've said, we're going to talk about 4 things. One, we'll talk about something we're calling self-investment. And I know we spoke about, we sort of touched on it the last time. We'll also talk about asset allocation as a principle of wealth building. We'll talk about patience and discipline. And finally, we'll talk about adaptability. So let's zoom in. And by the way, I would really be happy if you could just put a comment and tell me, are you learning anything from what we are doing here? I hate to just do a monologue where I am just alone talking about things here without please just encourage me, put a like, imagine, put a comment, tell me if this is speaking anything to you. But anyway, let's zoom in and talk about self-investment. As the word suggests, self-investment is basically investing in yourself. If anybody had told me the importance of investing in myself some years back, I would be very far. Why? Because I only got to understand the importance of investing in myself after I made all the mistakes in the world. And now when I was at the point, I was at the cliff, when I was at the cliff of almost really sliding into the other world of never coming back again, or at least not, having to make so much effort to come back up again. If anybody had told me the importance of investing in self, that self-investment and investing in myself, investing in knowledge, investing in my growth, if anybody had told me that that's an important aspect of money management, I wish somebody told me that. But I am here to tell you that if you have not considered putting aside resources for your personal investment, for your self-investment, please start to do so. Because why? I remember reading a book. I read a book by one of my coaches, and he was talking about putting away. I mean, he was even recommending putting away 10% of your income to actually just dedicate and commit to self investment, investing in yourself. Why is investing in yourself so important? It is so important to invest in yourself because you get to learn. I mean, when we come into this world, we are what one would call tabiraraza. We are empty, but we gather information. Sometimes we gather information that is may not necessarily be so good for us. But if you invest in yourself, if you sort of if you become intentional in terms of investing in yourself, and investing in yourself could be many. I mean, it could be your reading books, it could be you're paying some you're sort of having coaches in your corner to be able to help you structure things, help you to sort of put you into some level of accountability for certain things. It could be that you are investing in yourself so that you can actually gain knowledge in terms of your financial management, financial literacy, financial planning. All that is part of investing in yourself. And you know what? For I had never ever considered paying a coach to help me in anything. First of all, every time I heard the word coach, for me it was about football coaches. And I am sure there are still people today who actually, when they hear the word coach, they imagine it is about football coaches. Now, we are here as coaches. We are not football coaches. We are life coaches, and we help you in terms of unclogging the things in your life that sort of are stuck or clogged. Now, I would never have known the importance of investing in a coach or investing in myself if I had not fallen the way I fell. I remember, in fact, when was the first time I actually paid for something or at least invested in myself for something? I remember I was, when I made all the mistakes in the world, and there was this time when I actually almost went to prison on account of, an investment or a business that I had done that wasn't working. And I had, I have actually told that story in one of my books, The Unbeatable Spirit, but also in some of the videos here, I have told that story. But at that point, when I was feeling so low, I mean, I was in my own desert. I was walking like a shadow. I mean, I had lost favor everywhere, in church, in my neighborhood, everywhere, at work. I mean, I was just walking. I was just walking. And that time when you almost want to feel like, can the ground just open and swallow me? Where you're just feeling lonely, you're just feeling like you don't know what to do. And the reason you don't know what to do is because, I mean, you are in a valley, and no amount of, in fact, I don't know. I mean, I was just in a deep valley at that point, a deep valley, because we had come. Maybe you just go and listen to those videos because I don't want to repeat. But it was at a point in my life when I was feeling very, very low, very, very low. I mean, nothing was working. My finances were all over the place. I had engaged myself in a partnership with a partner who was a con man I didn't know, and the people who had invested in the business were all coming. They were all coming for their money, and in fact, my name had even been written in the papers. I had in the Daily Nation. I was going through disciplinary at work. I mean, it was really a tough time and a tough season for me. People I thought were my friends had just made it very difficult for me. At that point is when I realized, hiya, kumbe, you can have friends and you can have friends. Anyway, it was a very, very lonely time for me. And the only people who stood by with me was my family. And so I am always very grateful to my family. Now, the thing is, I had never invested in myself. That was the first time I ever paid for something. And so I remember, I was just like, then you're just going through Facebook, and then there was this man who kept appearing, when you have Facebook ads. So there was a guy, a bald-headed American guy who kept appearing. And I said, why is he appearing on my timeline all the time? And I remember as I was going to the market that day, and I said, God, if this man appears again, I am going to open and see what he is saying. So as I was coming back from the market, the fellow appears again, and so I opened, and so it was something I think it was being called the 21-day challenge, and it was just a 21-day challenge of I think emotional detox, and I needed that so badly. And I went through that 21-day challenge, and by the time I was done with the challenge, I felt much better. I was able to actually forgive, the gentleman who had conned me and conned the rest of us who were in that business, I was able to actually just release my load completely. Now, if I had not taken time and at least made that step of faith to actually say, okay, by the way, I actually paid 72,000 Kenya shillings at that time. I don't even know where I got the money, but anyway, I was so desperate. I was desperate. So I paid, and I was able to actually then go through, come out of that emotional roller coaster that I was going through, and then then I discovered, hiya, kumbe it is possible for there are people who are out here who can, of course, you pay them and they can help you. And I went on and on and on and on. And from that moment on, I became very big on personal development. And I can tell you, as a result of that personal development, I was able to actually to make a turnaround from my 47th birthday to my 50th birthday. In those 3 short years, I was able to actually turn around in terms of, the way I would manage money, because I was all over the place, the way I would, I understood what I am here to do, my purpose, and even developing my online business and the kind of, the coaching work that I am doing. I would never have done that if I had not considered self-investment. So self-investment is an important aspect of wealth building, because if I had not done that, I wouldn't even have had the courage to actually leave employment, because when it became obvious for me that I cannot continue staying with my employer for certain reasons, the only reason why I was able to make that step is because I had paid attention. I had been through a journey of investing in myself. I had been through a journey of, I had coaches that were in my corner. Even now, as a coach, I still have coaches that are in my corner. Last night, actually, I slept at 1:00 because I had a coaching session with one of my coaches from the UK at 11 p.m. in the night. And, because investing in myself is so important. And I can tell that I have actually grown and I have developed, and I sort of now have a clear image of where I am headed, even for, from a future perspective, than the time when I never paid attention to self investment or to investing in the self. So it's very important that you consider investing in the self as part of your wealth building. And I talk to employer and talk to people who are in employment. Please don't just consider getting all those degrees and you're studying for your employer, because a lot of times you get all the degrees because you're looking for the potential employer. That's all fine, but you forget that there are certain aspects that you need to actually invest in yourself for you, not so that you can get employment, not so that you can get that job, but for you. What are those aspects that you are investing in yourself? And being able to say, I am putting aside a certain amount of money. I talk about the 4 M's of money: make money, manage money, multiply money, and mesh money. In manage money, I advocate that you need to put aside a little. I mean, this thing that we call paying yourself. Of course, you can pay yourself by saving and investing, but there's that which you say, you know what, this one is for me to be able to, invest in myself, whether it's going to buy a book, whether it's in this office, I have a library of books. I remember sharing that on the occasion of my 50th birthday, I simply just went to Mombasa. There was this ship that had docked of all the books. I went there, I bought a number of books, and I am reading them, and I am developing out of that. So it's important that you sort of think about self-investment. Now, number 2 of this part 3, which is really the final series in this series of the 12 principles of wealth building, is asset allocation. Now, asset allocation is important because, and it relates generally to diversification, and I think we talked about diversification in our first series, but asset allocation in terms of you're not necessarily putting your money in just one asset class, so you sort of are well diversified, whether it's land, whether it's real estate, whether it's if you're big on stock, whether it's bonds, whether so you sort of have allocated your assets. And I was giving an example, I think, in one of the videos, where you have people who they have put in all their money in one asset class, maybe land. And I know that where I come from, I say, from where I come from in Central, we are very big on land. And people in Central, they really love a shamba, buying that shamba. So we have seen stories of people who have put all their resources in one asset class called land. And when they need the cash, they are asset rich in terms of, the land and everything, but they are cash poor. So you need to be able to have allocation that allows you to have certain assets in cash form. And now when I talk about cash form, I am not talking about having the cash floating around with you, but in places where you can easily liquidate, if when the need arises, being able to know that, okay, I have maybe my emergency fund, I have my long-term fund, the one that we talked about, the compounding interest and all that. So being able to really allocate your assets in a different way. Even if you're big in the stock market, you cannot buy all shares in one company. I think you need to be able to allocate, say, okay, these ones are for my long term, these ones are for my, immediate term, these ones I rely on them for dividend, these ones I rely them for the share price to change. So that ability to us to be able to allocate your assets in a significant way, it helps to also remain diversified. It helps to ensure that you are also managing risks, because then you cannot just put all your eggs in one basket. Now the third thing is discipline. Patience and discipline. By the way, I would imagine that the reason why Steve Barnes put this as one of the principles is because him having spent time, 30 years in the market, he is very aware that sometimes you will put in money in some place, in some investment, and you need to give it time. You need to give it time to grow. You need to ensure that you're not chofia, they like itchy fingers. I call it itchy fingers, because itchy fingers make it impossible and we talked about that in the first series, make it impossible for you to actually experience the fruits of compound interest. So for you to ensure that you are patient, that's why you need to be able to have allocation of different asset classes, so that, for example, if you have put in a land, if you have bought some land and you're saying, okay, this particular pieces of land are for my long-term view, therefore I am looking at them in the long term, I am looking at them for purposes of cashing in when buy and sell, buy, hold and sell later, buy now, hold, sell later. I mean, we have done that. I mean, people have done that, and they have managed. But then you cannot put all your resources in that, and then you have to know that when you have that patience, things will happen. I remember was it 12 years ago? I remember buying a piece of land, a plot, not a land, some plot somewhere, and at that time it looked like, okay, the area may not, the area is looking, okay, it was near the road, it was touching the road, yes, but, there were not major signs that it was going to grow, soon. No, I needed to be completely patient. And every time I went there, I knew, this one is for future of the futures, eh? And the other day I went there, and boom, 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 shock on me. The area has grown, it has developed, so that if if I have resources to actually you do a commercial development on it, it is possible for me to do a commercial development on it. And what was the ingredient there? The ingredient there was, of course, discipline and patience. And I remember at one point I almost sold it. And by the way, that reminds me, it's actually in the same area that I had, when I was in my valleys of financial mistakes, I sold one piece of land that still in the same area, one of the to put in forex. My goodness. And I put in that money, it was 900,000. I put it, and it was eaten almost in a week. Oh my goodness. Sometimes I feel, but anyway, I have overcome by the grace of God. And so patience and discipline is important. When we talked about a long-term fund, and we said in your development of your long-term fund, the fund that is supposed to help you in terms of compounding, whether it is in the stock market or whatever it is, you will have to do your research to determine. What that means is that you have to be patient, because wealth does not just pop up. Wealth is a factor of discipline and patience. So you have to really be disciplined, so that if you have put an investment away, if you have put certain funds for investment, you're not always looking to see, hey, is it growing? Oh, what is happening? Oh, of course you have to keep, asking, checking what is happening for purposes of being aware if there are any risks that your investment might be exposed to, but you're not necessarily, keeping on putting your fingers and putting your itchy fingers, withdrawing, converting it into some emergency of sorts. It will never grow. You need to be patient for you to see results. Even in the stock market, you need to be patient for you to see results. Even when you put in bonds, you still have to be patient, for that whole period of 6 months, to wait for the 6 months for you to get the bond. I mean, having been a bit, in the forex market, I know what patience is like. I mean, in terms of sometimes, things will go their way, sometimes they may not work your way, but discipline and patience is an important factor, ingredient in wealth building. And by the way, even if you talk to people who you think and who you admire because of maybe where they are in terms of their wealth journey, they will tell you that they were patient. They will tell you that they were disciplined, because you have to be disciplined. In fact, and the discipline actually comes in the second name of money. When we talk about manage your money, that is where actually discipline is embedded. And even in the third name, and even in basically everywhere, it's basically in the whole perspective of the four M's of money, there is discipline. But it's even discipline even in the making of the money. I know that for you who is in career, you don't start climbing from atop the ladder. You sort of begin low. When you get into career, you sort of you move up the career ladder. It is a factor of patience and discipline. When you start a business, again, you will start a business, and you still have to employ patience. You still have to employ discipline, so that patience and discipline, is what will see you through the dark season, through the season of the desert, so that you can actually be patient and disciplined even as you wait for the results to come by. Because even for business, things don't just do boom, 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 boom. I mean, it's a result of patience. And even talk to people who have even been on the online business, for example, even people who are making money from from the online space. There is a factor of patience and discipline. Things don't just happen. It's discipline. Therefore, that is an important aspect in wealth building. And now, finally, which is like the final point in this series, and we will have been done with the 3-part series. The final thing that Steve Burns talks about is adaptability. Now, let me tell you, when you think about adaptability, it's such an important aspect, because sometimes you have to be adaptable. Sometimes it might be that you have even started a business and the business is not working, or the way whatever it is that you had envisioned or thought, maybe things are not working in the way. Maybe there are certain things that you need to tweak for you to adopt. I remember, in fact, this reminds me, in my sometime back, when land buying was like, in Kenya, that there was a season when there was a craze of land buying. Now, of course, it's no longer, it's sort of gone down. But there was a time when land buying was like the in thing. In all the chamas, chamas would come together. We would even amalgamate. I remember there were times when we would combine this chama and we join hands, and we go and combine resources and buy land. Or it was I remember I spent about, I think, in a season of about 5 or 6 years, when during that time when there was this boom of property buying, of buying land, buy and sell, buy and hold. That whole season, I remember we got together as a chama. I think it was a chama of about 40 women. And these 40 women, we used to contribute, was it 10,000 a month or something? Yes, I think it was about 10,000 shillings a month. And So we would collect about 400,000 shillings every month, and we were very disciplined. We would meet on, I think, was it the third Saturday? Anyway, one of the Saturdays in the month we would meet. I was one of the directors of the, because we registered it as a company, so a limited company. So we were very disciplined, and we employed, all the different. I remember even people who would even pay fines, huge fines for not coming for meetings or not for not paying on time. And I remember at that time we went to the bank and we got a loan of about 10 million, and we bought some piece of land. And our dream and our vision was that we were going to then, because developing land was like the in thing at that point. So ours was, okay, we are going to buy this land and then we are going to develop it and then, build houses and move on. But then as we were doing that, we started noticing that, hey, it looks like the property boom was now sort of coming down, and now the houses, people were building houses, developers were building houses, and they were not being bought, and we were like, no, we cannot go in this direction, because otherwise we would have had to go for a very huge facility to be able to, accomplish that which we wanted to do. So we were adaptable, and we said, no, we cannot, that direction that we wanted to go. When we look at the economy, when we look at how things are, it is no longer a direction that is feasible. So you have to be adaptable. You cannot just be, this is what I said, this is what I'm going to do. I mean, check the context, because the context is what is going to dictate how you are going to manage your investments or manage the way in which you're making the resources that you're making. So adaptability is important. Maybe the other point about adaptability is to know that the economic age, here we're in the economic age of information, technology, communication, entertainment, all that. You have to be adaptable. So you can't just be stuck to the thing that you knew long time ago. Adaptability means that you're willing to learn, you're willing to explore, so that you are adaptable and sort of looking at the context and responding to the demands and what the context is telling you. So you have to be that dynamic. It's part of wealth building, so that if you discover that, okay, this is the direction I was going, I had done my analysis and this is what the context was telling me at that time, but the context is telling me something different today, then you have to just adopt. It's part of the principles of wealth building, so that then you listen. By the way, that example is, let me tell you, when I was doing trading, when I was doing forex trading, and there was this conversation about Brexit. And I remember I was in a trade. I was in a British pound trade or something. And it was at the height of the conversation about Brexit. So either way, something was going to happen. But I was late in terms of my own analysis and adopting to the context that was happening at that time. That I still remember that Kikando that just did zoom. I can tell you even the date and the time. It was 11th of August. 2018, 11th August 2018. I was seated somewhere in Java at Prestige, and it was somewhere, I think, around 5 o'clock or thereabout, because the London session, was it the US? Anyway, I was seated in Java, and the thing just came zoom, and before I knew it, my money was gone, totally gone. It was gone. The account was wiped out because I wasn't adaptable. And I think that's why Steve Burns, having been in the market for many years, he understands so well the aspect of adaptability. And yes, adaptability can be employed anywhere, even in your employment. Of course, you've got to be adaptable. How are you growing? Where are you investing? What information is there? You have got to be adaptable, and it's an important perspective when it comes to wealth building. Now, friends, we have covered 12 principles of wealth building, and I encourage you to look at the other videos and plus this one, of course, that you're listening to, so that you can see where are you. Is there something that you're learning? And by the way, I said, please don't allow me to just talk here alone. Please encourage me by putting just imagine, it is so easy to just place a finger on a like, just type. Is it helping you? Are you connecting? Am I connecting with you? what is this information? What does this information mean to you? Are you learning something? Because my aim is to add value and to make sure that we are learning each day as we continue to engage. And of course, let's keep it here. Every Friday at 5:30, I am here. Every Wednesday at 5:30, I am here again talking about biblical success principles. And so let's continue engaging. Until next Friday, see you and thank you.